Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Popular Stranger, and I am back with another gameplay video, as promised, dropping a defensive guide to help you guys win more games, not only in house rules, but MUT Champs, head-to-head ranked, whatever game mode that you play online. Hopefully, this video will help you out, and I will be dropping a brand new offensive scheme as well. So, over the last week, I switched my playbooks on both offense and defense. Really big change over to the Eagles offensive playbook. We'll be dropping a full video within the next 24 to 48 hours. On defense, I switched from the Vikings over to the Patriots, and there's not really a big difference between the two. I simply changed because of one specific play in one formation. I'll point out exactly what that is. But before I do that, I do just want to show you guys one thing, because if you're watching this video and you're thinking about changing playbooks for that reason, you know, because I changed them and you want to follow this as well, I know a lot of you just go to the auction house and try to buy the playbook that you're looking for. That's not really the move, and it's actually kind of hard to find the playbook you want these days. So what you want to do, whether it's offense or defense, is go over to your item sets, use the core set filter, and you're looking for the base team item set. Now, it's kind of hard to find 70 to 79 overall cards these days, because most packs that you open up are going to give you something better than that now that, you know, we're at the end of the year. But basically, you got to trade in 370 to 79 overall players. You put them into this set. In return, you get this really big fantasy pack that lets you choose between stadiums, coaches, and then base playbooks. So when you pick the playbook side, it'll then allow you to choose offense or defense, whatever side of the ball you pick. Then go ahead and pick the playbook. And again, if you're looking to run what I'm running here after watching this guide, we're going to be in the Patriots defense, which I'm going to go over in this video right now. And the next video upcoming on this channel will be the Eagles offense. This is going to be a long video that covers all of the different defenses that I run out of this playbook, but we're going to start with the primary base defense, specifically in house rules, that I've been having a lot of success with over the last couple days, and something I kind of switched to recently, and that's going to be the 6-1 formation, which is not, you know, any game-breaking news here, because this is a formation that people have been running a lot all year. Now, the way you likely are going to want this set up is you got 3 linebackers that are going to be on the field. You can't get any sub linebackers in this situation, so no safeties at linebacker, but primarily you're going to want the guys on the edge to be good in both coverage and occasionally going to be able to get to the quarterback, a lot of times get to the quarterback. So I'm just going to show you my setup here, and then kind of talk about, because I'm on my No Money Spent account right now, but I do want to talk about my main team as well. So at the middle linebacker position, like my primary user, this is middle linebacker DK Metcalf, and then on the outside to the right of your screen, I have Roquan Smith, who is good at rushing the passer, stopping the run, but also has really good man and zone coverage. On the left side, I have Matt Milano from the Theme Team Surge program. He's a player I highly recommend in this scheme because he has really good power move, block shed, finesse move, but also really good zone and man coverage. He's like the perfect type of card. Bobby Bell from the All-Star Athletes program is another example on my No Money Spent account, because we're budget here and I do plan on adding Matt Milano very soon. This is the way that I set it up. So I have KGH, which is a free card that you can earn. He's my primary user. And then on the edge, I have Edgerrin Cooper, which is another really good example and an inexpensive card to put on the edge, because he's good to stop the run and rush the passer for pass rushing. I just said the same thing twice there, but he's really good dropping back in coverage, specifically zone. On this side, I have Zach Bond, who's another one of those really good hybrid cards, because he's got high power move, finesse move, and block shed, really high zone. The downside to this card, his man coverage is terrible, and sometimes you are going to put these guys into man coverage. But all in all, this is the setup that I have with my linebackers, and I pointed out what I have on my main account, and then we do make one more adjustment with our subs here. I put Kayvon Thibodeau, which is one of our primary pass rushers, on the edge. So basically, the 2 outside linebackers are either going to rush or drop in coverage. The guys inside of that are going to be your defensive ends. So we got Kayvon Thibodeau and Hassan Reddick. And then you got your 2 defensive tackles, which currently have Anthony Adams and Leonard Williams. One from the Real Deals program, one from Theme Team Surge there. And on the back end, I mean, listen, you just want guys with knockouts. We play more man coverage than anything, but at this point, there's a lot of universal coverage guys out there. So if you can get universal coverage on your 2 outside corners and your safeties up top, and for example, I have it on CJ Gardner-Johnson, I don't have it on Taylor Rapp. In this situation, you want like deep zone knockout, mid zone knockout, but this is the primary formation that I run, and the main play that I've been running lately is Sam Will Blitz. Now, cover 4 quarters is really good as well. You're going to have to be a little bit more advanced with switch sticking when it comes to that formation, but Sam Will Blitz is almost like a cheat code here, because if you're running it against a less skilled player, like there's some people that are going to beat this defense, and you're just going to have to live with that. I do, it's okay. It's a very bend or don't break defense. But I think more often than not, you guys probably run into players that you're probably better than, but you just are getting out-schemed by basic things. And if you can do something basic like this on defense, it can cause a lot of havoc against your opponent. So first thing I do is press, which is going to be triangle, and then down on your left directional pad. I'm then going to hit triangle, and that's going to be Y on Xbox one more time, and I'm going to shade underneath. So we're pressing in, basically trying to guard the quick throws, the underneath throws. Now, with that being said, this is going to be very open to getting beat over the top. You're going to have a pretty good user, or at least recognize certain route combinations. But after you do those two things, you're going to want to basically put 1 or 2 of your safeties in coverage, in zone coverage specifically, to guard the over-the-top routes. Now, primarily, or by default, they're going to be in man coverage because that's the way the play aligns, and I do really recommend you guys, and I'm going to link it down below in the comment section as a pinned comment, highly recommend go and watch my video on defensive adjustments and specifically quick adjusting, because a lot of this stuff you're going to have to do from your primary user, which again is going to be that middle linebacker in Edgerrin Cooper or Grugier Hill in this instance. I kind of forgot who I had over there. So I can manipulate any of the players on the field without ever having to leave this user. And so in this situation, which is going to be the normal Y off close, one of the very, very meta formations that you're going to see all the time, the first thing I'm going to do specifically against this formation, and typically if I have 2 receivers on the left of me, as I'm going to put that left of screen linebacker, which is going to be blitzing right now in Zach Bond, I'm going to put him in either on a purple zone or a flat zone. Now, the way that you can do that is double tapping your right button on the directional pad 2 times. That's going to allow you to change the 3 different linebackers. We're going to hit square, that'd be X on Xbox, and then we're going to press left on our left analog stick to put him into a hard flat. So if there's a zig route over here, he's going to try to cover it. If there's a corner route, he's going to get beat in this area of the field over here. And if that case, if you want to cover the corner route, same adjustments. You're going to hit right on your directional pad 2 different times, the right arrow. You're going to select that defender, and in this situation, you're going to press right on your left analog stick to put him in a curl flat, which is essentially a purple zone, to try to cover the deep corner route. Again, the thing here is that now the flat route is going to be open, so if it's a zig route, they can beat you. That's typically where you're going to have to be good at switch sticking, so when they snap the ball, you can switch stick over to that defender and play some defense. Another thing, again, in this formation specifically, I would go hard flat here because a lot of people do go a zig route, or they run a drag from their tight end across the field. But the second thing I will typically do is put that safety, which is CJ Gardner-Johnson, in some type of zone to cover the deep shots. Now, there's 2 different things you can do. Again, you're going to hit your hot route menu for your secondary is double tapping Y on Xbox or triangle on PlayStation. Select the defender. It's going to be CJ Gardner-Johnson, which happens to be triangle in this situation. And we're going to push up on our left analog stick to put him in a deep half. He's basically going to try to cover that left side of the field, right, from the hash mark over. Now, if you want him to cheat a little bit towards the middle because you're worried about the receivers on the right side, you can do the same thing, hot route menu by double tapping triangle or Y, select triangle to select that defender, and this time you're going to go inside third, which is going to be pushing your left analog stick to the left. So now he's kind of covering the slot guy and the middle of the field, but you're going to be, leaving that streak wide open potentially if the press gets beat. Having bottleneck is a really good ability as well if you're running this scheme, but this is something that I would do against this formation specifically. And then finally, my user, I just usually put them in a mid-read zone or a deep blue zone to cover the middle of the field. And this is mostly because if I switch stick off of this guy, I still want the AI to take control of him and just stay around the center of the field to cover the things in the middle. Now with this play and this formation specifically, you have to take your user and be very aware of the table route, and then, kind of like a deep fade over here on the right of screen receiver, and then the tight end's going on a deep corner route. Again, I'm running a stock play here just against the computer, but I want to show you the various setups that I think about when I run this defense. And really what we're hoping is that the pressure gets there. And in this play, in this formation with this blitz, the pressure gets there fast. It's all about taking away their first initial read and kind of guarding the quick deep shot, because if your guy gets beat off of a man press there, it's going to be open. You want a safety on the back end to cover it. If you really want to get risky, I mean, you can even put this guy in the deep zone like we did, and then also put your other safety in a deep zone there, and you can do that again by hitting triangle or Y twice. This time you would select X to select Taylor Rapp, and you're going to push up on your left analog stick to put him in a deep half. If you want to cover a corner route, you can put him in a curl flat by pushing right on your left analog stick. It's going to leave, there's going to be spots open in this defense. So if you're watching this and you're like, I would crush this defense, some of you probably would. That's fine. That's understandable. But you want to beat the players that aren't going to be good against this or crumble under pressure when you blitz them. So these are just some of the things that I do. The computer will probably eventually finally snap it here now, and we're just going to kind of roam the middle of the field. So when they do snap the ball, we're hoping the pressure gets there. Look, they bailed out that quick. If that's an IRL user, they might not just run that quickly there, but they're going to get, the defense is going to collapse on the quarterback really, really fast. I mean, I didn't even do any setups there, and you can see it had them in shambles. If you run into tight formations, it's kind of similar because it's still a 2x2 set. The spacing is a little bit different there, and you also want to make your adjustments based off of what your opponent's doing, right? Like if they are always blocking their running back, you can kind of monitor that player with your user, but you're not really going to have to accommodate for them in the passing game with a coverage shell or any type of guy in coverage because they're doing that. So you got to think of, and pay attention to the tendencies and think of ways to shut those down. In a formation like this, people love going corner routes, like maybe 2 drags and 2 corner routes. So you always want to pay attention to those things, but mostly it's just going to be pressing, shading down, and then setting up your adjustments. Sometimes I'll just do this and then cover this side of the field, and then I know my user needs to take away the right side. If that running back goes out on a route, then we might be in trouble. And if you do want to put more coverage out there, it's going to take away from the blitz and people getting to the quarterback and applying that really quick pressure. But you can always put your other linebacker, and this is why I said have a hybrid guy, a guy that can play man coverage or zone coverage. If I double tap the directional pad 2 times to the right here and select X, which is going to be Edgerrin Cooper, I can now put him on a curl flat as well. So now we're essentially covering like the outsides. We got to be open to the zig routes and routes in the flats there, but you can adjust your coverage, and it's very like symmetrical with the 2x2, whether you're going against it or the way you have it set up. And by the way, you need to be base aligned in your coach adjustments. I probably should have mentioned that at the top of the video, but it's overall just a really good formation to keep your opponent guessing. And I mean, if you always blitz, right, like on the left of screen side, you might be able to throw them off and just put like a purple over here and maybe a blue over here. And then when they snap the ball, you know that your area of trying to shut down with the quick reads is going to be to the left of screen. I don't remember what play I picked for the computer to run, but we're just going to kind of simulate what we would do and look how fast the pressure got home. Again, I cannot stress this enough. This defense can be beat. You're not just going to go into a game, run this, and it's just going to work every single down. You're probably going to give up a few big touchdowns here and there, but the amount of pressure that it applies, especially to players who crumble under pressure, is phenomenal, and it's helped me win a lot more games lately. Also, if they start preparing for the blitz and the man coverage, you can disguise it very well by running cover 4 quarters. Now, the way that I like to do it, especially on 3rd and 4th down, because we have players who have omniscient or threat detector so they can see who's blitzing. On those downs, if you come out and Sam Will blitz, initially it shows those 2 guys on the edge are blitzing. The icon goes away after like a split second, maybe 1 second, but it can be a tell to let people know you're blitzing. So what I like to do, and again, you're going to want to set up your custom audibles by hitting L2 or left trigger on Xbox, is making sure that cover 4 quarters is one of those 4 audibles. So what you can do is call Sam Will blitz, and then out of the huddle here, as soon as you get to this screen, you're going to hit square on PlayStation, X on Xbox, and then you're going to hit L1. That's the audible I set it to go to cover 4 quarters. You may see some movement where it typically won't, because When you have your coach adjustment set up to base align, which I never did, to do that, you press right on the, press in the right analog stick, press it in. I just said the same thing twice. Default alignment is what it primarily goes to. You want to go to base. Usually my zone drops are 0, 20, 10, by the way. My apologies for that. I probably should have mentioned that at the top of the video. But keeping it base aligned, again, kind of keeps it hidden. So if I come out and Sam Will Blitz here, and then we audible, now you see how he walks down. That's kind of a tell that it's the man coverage. If we then audible to cover 4 quarters, there's no movement on the defense. So our opponent is probably thinking that we're going to be in man coverage again, and this time we're in zone. And again, you can manipulate these zones if you want to put both of these guys who are in purples on flat zones to cover the quick routes. Triangle on PlayStation, Y on Xbox just one time, and then down on your right analog stick to shade underneath. That's going to put them into hard flats. Typically, if I do that, I'll then do the reverse of that, triangle or Y on Xbox, and then up on the right analog stick. That's going to put our coverage to shade over the top so we don't get beat with these quick throws over the top, but it keeps those hard flats there, or at least changes them to cloud flats, but they still should be at 0 level due to our coach adjustments. And then, I would maybe keep the cloud flat on the running back side to cover the table route, but if I'm worried about the corner route over here from the tight end, we can put him in a purple. And, we can do things like maybe bring one of our safeties down into a hook curl to cover like post routes across the field. We're really hoping that the 4 that we're rushing are going to eventually get home to cover things, but this is the way that we switch over from man to zone. And again, you got to be careful with this. Cover 4 is probably the best cover shell in the game, so you're not going to give up a ton of big plays by default, but there's definitely going to be holes and gaps in here if the pressure doesn't get home. And that's why I say in this play specifically, it's good to be switch sticking here. So like if we want to cover over here, we can do that, and we can push right back to our right analog stick to cover the middle of the field. I'm just showing you the switch sticking there. But that's really the main 2 plays that I run out of that formation. Now, earlier in the video when I mentioned I switched from Vikings to Patriots, the one reason I did is because in the Patriots playbook, they have cover 2 man. My face cam's blocking it a little bit, but this is basically the only man coverage shell that has 2 safeties over the top without any type of like hot routing or adjusting. So that's why I switched over. And this is something that I usually call against people who like to run the double pass because it just crushes zone coverage. Usually this will get me enough pressure, but also have guys over the top to hopefully shut it down. I've been beat by the double pass many times, so it's not foolproof, but that's why I switched this playbook to get to cover 2 man. And just to kind of show you like a reverse of what we're doing, by default, those 2 guys on the edge, they are going to be in man coverage now. If you want to blitz either of them, you're going to still press right on your right directional pad 2 times. You're going to select the defender. We'll select Zach Pawn. And if we want to blitz him, down on the right analog stick. So now we have the coverage over the top. We got to kind of watch Devontae Smith with our user. And if they throw the running back on a route, we got to cover 2 guys at once. But we're really, really hoping that the pressure gets home before they can make a throw here. And so when they snap the ball, in this instance, our attention is going to be turned over here. Now the pressure didn't really get there, but we got the interception due to a really bad read by the computer. But I just wanted to show you kind of the 3rd play that I run out of this formation. For the most part, the 2 types of formations that I don't use that defense on are going to be bunch and trips. Specifically with trips, I like to go with mid blitz, and I put out a video about a month and a half ago breaking this down in a lot more detail. I will link it down below in the comment section as a pinned comment for you guys to go through, but I do want to cover it just one more time briefly here. And this, again, is not going to be a foolproof defense, but it's just worked for me for like 3 or 4 months now, mostly against trips, right? Some people are still going to beat me. It just is what it is. But in this instance, you're going to want to go with auto alignment at default. And I'm going to use a really popular play on offense to go against, but we're going double mug here and we're going mid blitz. You've probably run this against the computer a million times. So one of the most popular plays that you're going to run into is this motion Y post. It's in the Lions offensive playbook. It's in the Eagles, obviously. It's in a few other ones. But if people are just going to run it stock here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to user this safety, right? But we kind of have to cover like this whole side of the field by ourselves. So the first thing I'm going to do after we get on our user, again, you got to be good with your quick adjustments, is I'm going to press right on the directional pad 2 times to select one of our linebackers. The linebacker to the right, which is X, we're going to put him in man coverage, which means we got to press up on our right analog stick, You're going to have to practice this because you got to do this really fast. Repetition is going to help here, but you press up on your right analog stick to put him in man coverage, and then you select the icon of the receiver you want to cover in man. It's always going to be the tight end. The second thing I'm going to do is repeat that exact process, but instead of selecting our X defender, we're going to hit square, which is Edgerrin Cooper. We're still going to push up on our right analog stick to put him in man coverage, but he's going to be responsible for the running back. So that's how it looks so far. I will usually put my guy in a zone that I'm going to use her in case we do have to switch stick off him. But the final adjustment is the safety, because you can see Dallas Goedert is double teamed right now. The safety that was originally covering Goedert, we're going to put him on a curl flat to cover the corner route, because people in this formation love throwing corner routes. So again, double tap triangle or Y on Xbox. We're going to hit circle to select Taylor Rapp. Almost forgot who my safety was. And we're going to push right on our left analog stick to put him in a curl flat. Sometimes you can even move him over just a little bit there. And that's primarily how it's going to be set up. Now, when the ball is snapped, for the most part, that man coverage on the running back is going to be good to go. You might get beat on the table route a few times there. If they streak their tight end, you're just about cooked. So you have to pay attention to that. My eyes are usually on the tight end right at the snap there, because if it's a corner route, it should be covered. If it's a streak, we got to run over here and cover it. But if it's a drag, that's also going to get beat. Even though our guy who's in man coverage literally has like a half a field, or I'm exaggerating, a quarter of a field head start in the direction that that player's running, a drag is usually going to beat it. But typically when people run this play and their tight end's getting dragged, or they're doing a drag on their tight end, the trip side of receivers, they're just doing verticals. And for the most part, depending on the players, and knockouts are going to be great, universal coverage is going to be great, but for the most part, if you don't press, these guys are going to stay with their defender. Like I said, for the most part, it can be beat. It's not foolproof, but it works a lot for me. Now with the play we're going to go against, they're going to motion 87, that inside trips receiver, and he's going to kind of do like a wheel route up the field. Once I see that motion, this is how I'm set up initially. Once I see that motion, I need to quickly make this adjustment by hitting triangle twice, selecting circle, who we did put in that curl flat, and then pushing up on our left analog stick to put him in a deep half. That's going to cover that motion curl route. And then when I snap the ball, or when the computer snaps the ball, watch my user. I like to cheat on the post route from the tight end and then come down to the inward zig here. So I'll cheat over here and then I'll crash down. Now, hopefully the pressure gets home, but that's the most common way that people like to run this play. So when I know it's coming here, and again, you're going to run into it a lot, I'm going to cheat on that post route. The post route is usually bagged until they cross somewhere around like over here. So you got to kind of hold it until you get over here and then go down. And as you can see, it pretty much stays with every guy in this just basic man coverage. And if you have knockouts, you're going to get those most of the time. So we'll run it one additional time here. And again, just watch my user. Watch the tendencies. Now, if they start hot routing, there's other things we have to account for, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But cheat over here, crash down. I was a little late there. We usually can get some good pick sixes from that. One of the biggest adjustments or changes that people will make to this play, instead of going with the motion, is they'll put their inside slot receiver on a slant instead. So now this is how the play looks when they snap it. This one definitely a lot more difficult to cover. In this instance, you can either switch to a different defense if you want to defend it a different way, or really hope that the pass rush gets there. Now, one thing that I'll do to change or cover this is normally what our play art looks like. Unfortunately, that curl flat will just not cover the slant route from 87 very well. So sometimes I will put that same defender by double tapping triangle or Y, selecting circle. Instead, I'll press down on the left analog stick to put him in a hook curl. It's going to hold him a little bit more, but if they then put, their tight end on a corner route, we are cooked. If the pressure doesn't get there past like maybe the numbers, this hook curl is not going to cover that route any longer. So in this instance, this is probably the toughest way to cover, or the toughest adjustment from this play to the defense I'm showing you to cover. It's not impossible, but a better player who makes good reads and doesn't crumble under pressure will beat you. So I just wanted to point that one out. If somebody does that specifically to you, maybe you need to change up your coverage there. I know a lot of times I just get overly stubborn and I just keep trying until we either continue to get beat, or we just hope that the pressure gets there, or they make a mistake and they throw an interception. But after the ball is snapped, it's kind of the same idea. You're just going to kind of cheat over there. The pressure got home, but as you may have noticed, that post route from their tight end crushed our man coverage, and we weren't able to kind of hold this side of the field because because we had to cheat over here to accommodate for that slant route from 87. There's not really any specific plays I'm going to point out here, but this is the other kind of type of trips that you would see. And in this instance, double tap our right directional pad. We're going to select our square defender, push up on the right analog stick to put him in man coverage. He's going to be responsible for the running back. Same thing, but we're going to select X, the other middle linebacker, and then up on the right analog stick, he's going to be responsible for the tight end. So it looks like this, and then again, we're going to put that safety, the right of screen safety, the strong safety, which is L1 now in Taylor Rapp. We're going to push left on our left analog stick to put him into a curl flat to cover the corner routes. Now again, the middle of the field is going to be open. A lot of times when you see this formation, you're still looking kind of middle of the field for streaks. We're just hoping this guy on the island over here is just going to hold it down, right? Now, if they go like a slant or an in route, that's going to be your responsibility to cut off, to try to jump, to intercept. But we're looking, do they streak their tight end? If they do, you got to run over to this area and help. More commonly, people are going to do like a corner route with their tight end. That's where the curl flat's going to be to totally shut that down. And then the other combinations of things you're going to see, and I think we're just going against like verticals, which you'll run into that a ton there. You just got to hold down the middle of the field. But you may see like a streak and a drag and a slant, or just some type of double drags to go from right to left. You got to be responsible for that as well. So it's a lot of stuff that you need to do and pay attention to, but we're just hoping in all of these instances that the pass rush gets home before anybody gets open, because this coverage is very good for about 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like forever, but in, pass rush terms and Madden terms, it actually is. Again, in this instance, we're just going against verticals, so we're going to kind of cheat over to the left when they snap the ball, and we're going to monitor exactly what the tight end specifically is doing. Once I see him going upfield, I'm going to follow up there, and the pass rush is going to get home. Unfortunately, in the playbook that I'm in, I don't have any formation to show you exactly what I'm trying to mention, but there are trips formations where you'll have 3 guys to the right, hence trips, but also the running back is over. That one gives me a little bit of problem, but if the running back was over here on the right-hand side, the main thing we're normally worried about is that RPO read flat where the tight end goes to the flat. And for me, no matter what I do, hard flat, zone, man it up, it just never gets covered. So we have to take our safety all the way down here and kind of manually cover that. So if you run into that, again, you might need to switch to a different formation or just be aware of those types of things. So the third type of defense that I normally run is something that I ran most of the year, and I've kind of gotten away from it since I switched over to 6-1, but it's going to be out of the dime 1-4 formation here, and you do want to make sure that your audibles are set up. So again, once you go into the formation, you're going to hit L2 on PlayStation, left trigger on Xbox, and one of these needs to be a cover 4 shell. So I usually do the third option down because I like cover 2 man and I like DB Sting. So this is the one that I'm going to go ahead and select cover 4 drop, and then cover 3 sky, because there is a loop blitz out there that you can run. I don't really do it a ton, but I just like to have it in here. I'm going to go cross 3 fire. So those are the 4 audibles, but the play that we're going to come out in every single time is going to be double safety go. I get this question all the time when I'm streaming. How do you make your safeties come down like that? How do people do that? It's this formation. Now, I do flip the play all the time. I don't really have a rhyme or reason. I just do it. And then once I select it, I'm going to immediately, and let me select a play to go against. See how the safeties come down, but we're still in man coverage here. I'm going to hit my audible menu, which is square on PlayStation, X on Xbox, and then L1 to switch to cover 4 drop. Now, because it's practice mode, these guys ran back up there, but normally they're not going to do that. I think maybe that happened, and I should point it out that for this defense specifically, we need to go back to base align. So the only time we're in the default alignment is for the mid-blitz trips coverage. So our safeties are down. We're in the man coverage here. We're going to bring up our audible menu and go to cover 4 drop. And now there is a little bit movement over there on the right side, but you can see the safeties are still down. So this is really good deep pass coverage. There are certain bombs that can beat it, but for the most part, you're not going to give up anything over the top. What you are going to give up is underneath stuff in the middle, and then either drags or corners. Again, you can adjust your coverage to cover those things. So if we just globally shade down, our slot defenders are in hard flats, but we can press right on our right directional pad to manipulate our safeties. I'm sorry, our linebackers. So if I want to put, this X linebacker in a curl flat, we can do that. So now we have a curl flat, kind of like a corner and a flat route coverage. We can put any of our slot defenders in any coverage we want. Double tap triangle to get that menu up. select the defender, so we'll go X in this instance, and sometimes I'll put this player on a vertical hook, which is down on our left stick. So we'll do things like that. Again, you can customize this one the main way that you want. The limits are, you know, they're limitless. I don't know if that made sense, but you can do a lot with this. So overall, it's just a really good coverage shell. That's why you run into so many people running cover 4, but it's also a really good defense because it's, you know, like a 2x2x2 where you got the 2 linebackers, the 2 slot defenders, and then the 2 outside guys with 2 safeties there. It's got really good spacing to switch stick. Again, that's going to be a little bit more advanced. I can't teach you the ins and outs of that. To me, that's more of a feeling thing, picking up on tendencies, knowing route combinations, really, really popular plays. But that's just, you know, the kind of base zone formation that I'm in. And with this formation specifically, and there's also a double flex that's really similar in the Saints and 49ers playbook to this formation. The only difference is that the tight end on the right of screen, the wide receiver on the right of screen is a little bit closer to the tight end. But one of the main things that I like to do is from the linebacker spot, either man coverage this outside receiver that's going to probably be crossing from right to left, or do the opposite side and man coverage the receiver on the left of screen that's probably going to be crossing left to right. So that's just one thing that I do specifically when I see this formation. Remember to put anybody in man coverage. You need to bring up your hot route menu. It's triangle 2 times for your secondary, right on the directional pad 2 times for your linebackers. And the way I did that, I would select square up on the right analog stick, and then the receiver we want to put in man coverage, which was square in this instance. That's how we get him to cover there. And again, we can, you know, manipulate if we're worried about a zig route over there. We can put a hard flat over here. We know a lot of people love to go table route and then, you know, a corner route combination with 87 going on a streak. You got to pick up the tendencies, but this is the cover 4 coverage shell that I run a lot. The final thing I want to go over, I mentioned it earlier, is defense for bunch. Typically bunch offset or just gun bunch there. I like to go DB sting. I haven't used this play as much as I did last year. It was called spinner last year, but it's kind of like the man coverage version or dime 1-4 man coverage version of the 6-1 that we ran earlier, where you're just blitzing about everybody and you're hoping the pressure is going to get home, but you can adjust on the back end. Now, the main thing that I do when I see somebody in bunch is I come out in this formation. I'm going to hit right on my D-pad 2 times to select our linebackers. We're going to hit X for KGH here, up on the right analog stick for man coverage, and he is going to cover the tight end. So that's how it looks now. Second thing I'm going to do is this safety that's responsible currently for the running back. We're going to put him on a middle half here to cover the middle of the field. So double tap triangle, L1, and then we're going to push, and I said in middle half, inside third, we're going to push left on the left analog stick, similar to what we did earlier. So now it looks like that. And then the final thing I'll do is put our triangle, our left of screen slot defender, double tapping triangle to get to him, triangle to select him, and then we're going to put down on our left analog stick for a vertical hook. Also, you can't switch stick out of a guy who is blitzing, so if I wanted to switch stick off of Cooper right now, it wouldn't allow me to do it. I just got to put him in some type of zone, so when the ball snapped, I can switch stick out of him. But a lot of people still love to run double post, which means this running back is going to go up and in, and typically when they do that, the tight end is going to drag from right over to left. That's why we have this vertical hook sitting there waiting for them. Also, another play that they might run if it's not going to be double post is they will drag their tight end. Again, why we have our vertical hook waiting for it. And then this slot receiver is going to do that zig route where they go up and in. So typically, if I see the tight end start to drag over and the running back's not moving, I'm running over here because I know they're probably going to try that zig route, especially if they know we're in man coverage because we've run this a few times there. If they're in double post and the running back's going to up and in, we're just going to simply follow them. And on double post, it basically has 2 posts in the middle of the field. That's where that deep zone in the middle of the field is going to cover. That's why we set them up that way. And one final adjustment, it's going to give you one less rusher because we're blitzing on the right of screen there. But if you are worried about the corner route, you can always double tap your triangle or Y button for your defensive back hot route menu. Select X for that slot defender over there, and then left on the left analog stick to put him in a curl flat to try to cover the corner route. You can also put him in man coverage on that slot receiver. And if you really want to get crazy, put your strong safety in a curl flat as well, or a purple route to cover the corner. Again, we've kind of done these things in the other formations. You got to learn these quick adjustments, but this is another formation that I like to set up different adjustments on because it gets good pressure. You got man coverage, between all of the knockouts and universal coverage. As long as your guys are in the range, they should get a knockout, and it's just going to generate a lot of pressure to make your opponents uncomfortable. So for the most part, that's everything that I run on defense. I'm not the greatest player in the world. I lose too. In fact, I probably lose more than I would like to. I definitely agree with what I just said there. And everything that we went over in this video is not going to be unstoppable. People are going to beat you, but I think this should help a lot of you who maybe felt clueless or struggling to win just about anything. It might help you win a couple more games here and there, hopefully get you some free currency in the ongoing house rules. And I want to do a lot more stuff of this in Madden 26. So subscribe to this channel if you're new here and you're not subbed already, because I think we're going to have a lot more gameplay tips throughout the year. I'll be back with another video very soon on the Eagles offense that I'm now running, but that is going to be your New England Patriots defensive guide. Hope it helped. If it did, click that thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.